This is a list of notable events in music that took place in the year 1984. Events January March January 11th, BBC Radio 1 DJ Mike Reid announces on air that he will not play the single Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood because of his suggestive lyrics. The BBC places a total ban on the record at about the same time. January 21st Relax reaches number 1 in the UK singles chart, despite the BBC ban. It will spend a total of 42 weeks in the top. January 27th 40 Michael Jackson's scalp is burned during the filming of a Pepsi commercial and he is admitted to hospital. Around this time, Jackson also releases the title track from his Thriller album as the LP's final single. February 14th, Elton John marries studio engineer Renate Bloor. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford attend an Aerosmith concert and rejoin the band, which embarks on a reunion tour back in the saddle later in the year. February 16th Jerry Lee Lewis surrenders to federal authorities on charges of income tax evasion. Lewis is later acquitted. February 28th recovering from the scalp burns sustained a month earlier, Michael Jackson wins 8 Grammy Awards out of 12 nominations, breaking the record for the most Grammys won in a single year. He wins 7 for the critically acclaimed album Thriller and the other for his work on the audiobook for the film E.T. The Extraterrestrial. February 29th German industrial band KMFDM is founded, and holds its first performance at the Grand Palais in Paris, France. March 1st Sting plays his last concerts with the Police at the end of the Synchronicity Tour. The band takes a pause after the tour and only play a few special events together after this, until 2007, when they would organize a reunion tour. Alice Cooper, who has not toured for his last 2 albums, parts ways with his longtime label Warner Brothers and goes on hiatus from the music industry. Cooper begins mulling over plans for a comeback, which he would carry out in 1986. April June April 1st, New York rock and roll magazine Trouser Press folds after a decade, publishing its 96th and final issue. In Los Angeles, Marvin Gaye is shot and killed during an argument with his father. May 1st Mick Fleetwood, of Fleetwood Mac, files for bankruptcy in the United States. May 2nd Lionel Richie's hit Hello becomes Motown's first ever UK million-selling single. May 5th, The Pretenders singer Chrissy Hind marries Simple Minds singer Jim Kerr. In Luxembourg, the Eurovision Song Contest 1984 is won by the Swedish entry, De Gailu de Gale, performed by the Harrys. June 8th Billy Joel performs at Wembley Arena. The concert is later broadcast on BBC television in 2 parts. June 16th Frankie Goes to Hollywood begin a 9-week stay at the top of the UK singles chart with 2 Tribes. June 18th at the climax of a Judas Priest concert at Madison Square Garden, fans begin ripping out the cushions from the seats and throwing them on stage. Judas Priest pay damages through insurance and are banned from Madison Square Garden for life over the incident. June 25th Prince releases his 6th album Purple Rain. The album sells over 20 million copies and gives Prince 2 US number 1 singles with When Doves Cry and Let's Go Crazy. Julia September July 1st during his performance at the first ever Cornerstone Festival in Gracelake, Illinois, Steve Taylor jumps off the stage, breaking his ankle. Taylor hops back on stage and finishes his show. The next few shows on Taylor's tour were performed from a wheelchair. July 10th the last original member of Menudo, Ricky Miller copyrighted, leaves the group and is replaced by Ricky Martin. Meanwhile, Menudomania reaches Asia in 1984. July 14th, Eddie Van Halen makes a special guest appearance at a concert by the Jacksons in Dallas, Texas, playing the guitar solo for Beat It Live. Selena y Los Dinos released their first album Mis Primeras Grabations. August 9th Iron Maiden kicks off the World Slavery Tour in Warsaw, Poland, with shows in Hungary and Yugoslavia soon to follow. This marks the first time a Western band has ever brought a full concert production behind the Iron Curtain. August 10th, Red Hot Chili Peppers release their debut album The Red Hot Chili Peppers. August 25 – The Euro Kathleen Battle makes her solo recital debut at the Salzburg Festival. August 31 – A Euro-Canadian music video channel Much Music begins broadcasting. The first video played is Rush's The Enemy Within. September 2 – A Euro Van Halen concludes its 1984 world tour with a show in Nuremberg, Germany as part of the Monsters of Rock Festival tour. This would be the band's last concert with David Lee Roth as lead singer until September 7, 2007 – A Euro Janet Jackson elopes with fellow singer James DeBarge. The marriage would be annulled in 1985. September 11 – A Euro country singer Barbara Mandrell suffers serious injuries in a head-on automobile collision on a Tennessee highway. She will make a comeback after spending over a year rehabilitating. September 14 – A Euro The first annual MTV Video Music Awards are held in New York City. Herbie Hancock wins the most awards with 5, and the Cars take the highest prize of Video of the Year for You Might Think. Much attention is garnered by Madonna's controversial performance of her hit single Like a Virgin, in which she rolls around on the stage, revealing lacy stockings and garters, and grinds her crotch against her veil. September 21 – A Euro The first compact disc manufacturing plant in North America opens in Terre Haute, Indiana. CDs have previously had to be expensively imported from Japan or West Germany. Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA is designated as the first CD ever made in the United States. October – A Euro December – October 1 – A Euro The Canadian music video series Video Hits premieres on CBC television. October 23 – A report on the Ethiopian famine by BBC journalist Michael Buck is broadcast in the UK and receives an unprecedented public response. Among those watching is Bob Geldof, who is inspired to release a charity record to raise money to help with famine relief. October 26 – A Euro Turner Broadcasting System launches Cable Music Channel, a music video channel intended to compete directly with MTV. The first video played is I Love LA by Randy Newman. The channel would only last 34 days. November 5 – Bryan Adams releases his breakout album called Reckless, spawning multiple hit singles, achieving diamond certification in Canada and topping the charts in the United States. November 20 – A Euro Michael Jackson receives a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame directly in front of Mann's Chinese Theatre. Jackson leaves after only 3 minutes at the request of security, as the crush of 5,000 onlookers becomes a safety concern. November 25 – A Euro The Band-Aid single Do They Know It's Christmas? Is recorded at SARM Studios in Notting Hill, London, by a gathering of performers that includes Paul Young, Simon Le Bon, Bono, Phil Collins, Paul Weller, Sting, Boy George and Tony Hadley. November 28 – A Euro The Bring Me Sunshine charity concert at the London Palladium, in memory of Eric Morecambe, includes musical performances by Kenny Ball and his Jazz Men, Des O'Connor and Ernie Wise. December – A Euro Tipper Gore forms the Parents Music Resource Centre in response to the filth she hears on her daughter's copy of Prince's Purple Rain. December 1 – A Euro Frankie Goes to Hollywood become the first act to take their first 3 singles to the UK #1 position since Jerry and the Pacemakers in 1963, when The Power of Love tops the chart. December 3 – A Euro Bob Geldof and Band-Aid release the single Do They Know It's Christmas, which becomes the fastest-selling single of all time in the UK. December 8 – Ma paragraphedly Cra 1/4 member Vince Neil is involved in a serious car accident. He is drunk at the time, and Razzle of Hanoi Rocks is killed in the accident. Cyndi Lauper, with the 4th single from her 1983 debut She's So Unusual, All Through the Night, becomes the first woman in the 26-year history of the Billboard Hot 100 to have 4 singles from one album in the top 5. December 9 – A Euro The Jacksons conclude their victory tour with the last of 6 concerts at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. The tour, which consisted of 55 shows over 5 months, has reportedly grossed $75 million, a new industry record. December 11 – While on tour, Bucks Fizz's tour bus crashes. All members of the group are injured and member Mike Nolan suffers brain damage after falling into a coma. December 13 – A Euro George Harrison makes a rare public appearance, joining Deep Purple on stage in Sydney, Australia for their encore rendition of Lucille. December 31, Def Leppard's drummer Rick Allen loses his left arm in a car wreck. The 13th annual New Year's Rockin' Eve special airs on ABC, with appearances by Jermaine Jackson, Ronnie Milsap, Night Ranger, Scandal, John Waite and Barry Manilow. UK singles sales this year are the second highest ever, after 1978. Bands formed, see musical groups established in 1984. Bands disbanded, see musical groups disestablished in 1984. Bands reformed, Deep Purple. Albums released. January March April June July September October December release date unknown Biggest hit singles. The following songs achieved the highest chart positions in the charts of 1984. Significant hits A Little Love Juice Newton, Agadoo Black Lace, Against All Odds Phil Collins, All Cried Out Alison Moyet, All Join Hands Slade, All Through the Night Cyndi Lauper, An Innocent Man Billy Joel, Automatic Jermaine Stewart, Baby You're Dynamite / Ocean Deep Cliff Richard, Back for More Rat, Be My Number 2 Joe Jackson, Better Be Good to Me Tina Turner, Big City Nights The Scorpions, Big in Japan Alphaville, Borderline Madonna, Born in the USA Bruce Springsteen, Blue Jean David Bowie, Breakdance Irene Cara, Break In. There's No Stopping Us Ollie and Jerry, Break My Stride Matthew Wilder, Careless Whisper Wham! Catch My Fall Billy Idol, Caribbean Queen Billy Ocean, Centipede Rebby Jackson, Cherry Oh Baby UB40, Cover Me Bruce Springsteen, Crazy Kenny Rogers, Cruel Summer Bananarama, Crime Be Free Marilyn, Dance Hall Days Wang Chung, Dance Me Up Gary Glitter, Dancing in the Dark Bruce Springsteen, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes Ultravox, Distant Early Warning Rush, Dr. Beat Miami Sound Machine, Dr. Thompson Twins, Don't Blame It on Love Shack Attack, Don't Tell Me Blancmange, Down on the Street Shack Attack, Drive The Cars, Easy Lover Philip Bailey Duet with Phil Collins, 80s Killing Joke, Eye to Eye Jermaine Stewart, Eyes Without a Face Billy Idol, Fam Liebe Copyright Ra Copyright EA Cookie Dingler, Flame Trees Cold Chisel, Flesh for Fantasy Billy Idol, Footloose Kenny Loggins, For Whom the Bell Tolls Metallica, Forest Fire Lloyd Cole. And The Commotions, Forever Young Alphaville, Freedom Wham! Girls Just Want to Have Fun Cyndi Lauper, The Ghost in You The Psychedelic Furs, Ghostbusters Ray Parker, Jr. God Bless the USA Lee Greenwood, Had a Dream Roger Hodgson, Half a Boy Half a Man Nick Lowe, Hammer to Fall Queen, Heart from the Start Classics Nouveau, Heavens on Fire Kiss, Hello Lionel Richie, Here Comes the Rain Again Eurythmics, High on Emotion Chris de Burgh, The Heart of Rock and Roll Huey Lewis in the News, Heaven Bryan Adams, Heaven Eurogliders, Hold Me Now Thompson Twins, Hold On to Love Gary Moore, Hot Water Level 42, House of Salome Kim Wilde, Human Touch Rick Springfield, I Feel For You Cheka Khan, I Just Called to Say I Love You Stevie Wonder, I Scare Myself Thomas Dolby, I Wanna Rock Twisted Sister, I Want a New Drug Huey Lewis in the News, I Want to Break Free Queen, I Want to Know What Love Is Foreigner, I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me Nick Kershaw. If This Is It Huey Lewis in the News, Illegal Alien Genesis, I'll Wait Van Halen, In Jeopardy Roger Hodgson, In Neon Elton John, Infatuation Rod Stewart, Invisible Alison Moyet, It's a Hard Life Queen, It's a Miracle Culture Club, Joanna Kool and the Gang, Jokerman Bob Dylan, Jump Van Halen, Jump The Pointer Sisters, Jungle Love The Time, Just Another Woman in Love a Euro Anne Murray, Kalimba de Luna a Euro Dalida, Karma Chameleon a Euro Culture Club, Keeping the Faith a Euro Billy Joel, The Killing Moon a Euro Echo and the Bunnyman, L'inamorata a Euro Dalida, Let's Go Crazy a Euro Prince and the Revolution, Let's Hear It for the Boy a Euro Denise Williams, Like a Virgin Madonna, Lights Out a Euro Peter Wolf, Locomotion a Euro OMD, The Longest Time a Euro Billy Joel, Love Somebody a Euro Rick Springfield, Love Child a Euro Tiana Marie, The Lucky One a Euro Laura Branigan, Madam Butterfly a Euro Malcolm McLaren, Magic a Euro The Cars, Master and Servant a Euro Depeche Mode. Message to My Girl a Euro Split Ends, Michael Caine a Euro Madness, Middle of the Road a Euro The Pretenders, Missing You a Euro John Waite, Missing You a Euro Diana Ross, Miss Me Blind Culture Club, Mistake Number 3 a Euro Culture Club, The More You Live, The More You Love a Euro A Flock of Seagulls, My Ever-Changing Moods a Euro The Style Council, My Oh My a Euro Slade, The Never-Ending Story a Euro Limahl, New Moon on Monday Duran Duran, No Mercy a Euro The Stranglers, No More Lonely Nights a Euro Paul McCartney. Nobody Loves Me Like You Do a Euro Anne Murray and Dave Loggins, Obsession Amy Motion, Oh Sherry a Euro Steve Perry, One Love People Get Ready a Euro Bob Marley and the Wailers, One Night in Bangkok a Euro Murray Head, On a Night Like This a Euro The Shadows, Original Sin a Euro ANXS, Out of Touch a Euro Hall and Oates, Panama a Euro Van Halen, Passengers Elton John, Pearl in the Shell a Euro Howard Jones, Pearly Dewdrops Drops a Euro Cateau Twins, Penny Lover a Euro Lionel Richie, People a Euro Depeche Mode, Perfect. Skin a Euro Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Porti Dage Tame a Euro Dalida, The Power of Love a Euro Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Pretty in Pink a Euro The Psychedelic Furs, Pride a Euro U2, Purple Rain a Euro Prince and the Revolution, Radio Gaga a Euro Queen, Rattlesnakes a Euro Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Read 'em and Weep a Euro Barry Manilow, Rebel Yell a Euro Billy Idol, The Reflex a Euro Duran Duran, Relax a Euro Frankie Goes to Hollywood, The Riddle a Euro Nick Kershaw, Robert De Niro's Waiting a Euro Bananarama, Rock You Like a Hurricane a Euro The Scorpions, Round and Round a Euro Rat, Run Runaway a Euro Slade, Runaway a Euro Bon Jovi, Run to You a Euro Bryan Adams, Running with the Night a Euro Lionel Richie, Sad Songs a Euro Elton John, Saturday Night a Euro Cold Chisel, The Second Time a Euro Kim Wilde, Self-Control a Euro Laura Branigan, Seven Seas a Euro Echo and the Bunnyman, Sex Crime a Euro Eurythmics, She Bop a Euro Cyndi Lauper, She Was Hot a Euro The Rolling Stones, Shooting from the Heart a Euro Cliff Richard, Shout a Euro Tears for Fears, Shout to the Top a Euro The Style Council, Silver a Euro Echo and the Bunnyman, Sister Christian a Euro Night Ranger, Skin Deep a Euro Stranglers, Soul Kind of Feeling a Euro Dynamic Hypnotics, Small Town Boy a Euro Brunsky Beat, Smooth Operator a Euro Sard, So Central Rain a EM So Tired a Euro Ozzy Osbourne, Solial a Euro Dalida, Somebody's Watching Me a Euro Rockwell featuring Michael Jackson, Some Guys Have All the Luck a Euro Rod Stewart, Sounds Like a Melody a Euro Alphaville, Special Girl America, State of the Nation a Euro Industry, Standing in the Shadow a Euro Witty Snake, Stranger in Town a Euro Toto, Strut a Euro Sheena Easton, Stuck on You a Euro Lionel Richie, Sugar Wars a Euro Sheena Easton, Summer of '69 a Euro Bryan Adams, Sunglasses at Night a Euro Corey Hart, Taking It All Too Hard a Euro Genesis. That's All a Euro Genesis, That's Not the Way Anne Murray, The Touch a Euro Kim Wilde, Thieves Like Us a Euro New Order, Thin Line Between Love and Hate a Euro The Pretenders, Thriller a Euro Michael Jackson, Tia Moo a Euro Laura Branigan, Time After Time a Euro Cyndi Lauper, Tinseltown in the Rain a Euro The Blue Nile, To All the Girls I've Loved Before a Euro Julio Iglesias and Willie Nelson, To France a Euro Mike Oldfield, Together in Electric Dreams a Euro Philip Oakey and Giorgio Moroder, Torture a Euro The Jacksons, TV Dinners a Euro ZZ Top, Twist of Fate a Euro Olivia Newton-John, Two Tribes a Euro Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Up on the Catwalk a Euro Simple Minds, Very Personal a Euro Ian Dury, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go a Euro Wham! The War Song a Euro Culture Club, We Belong a Euro Pat Benatar, We rock a Euro Dio, we're not gonna take it a Euro Twisted Sister, what about me? A Euro Kenny Rogers, Kim Carnes and James Ingram, what difference does it make? A Euro The Smiths, what's love got to do with it? A Euro Tina Turner, when am I going to make a living? A Euro Sard, when doves cry? A Euro Prince, when love breaks down? A Euro Prefab Sprout, where the rose is sown? A Euro Big Country, whisper to a scream? A Euro Icicle Works, White Lines? A Euro Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, who wears these shoes? A Euro Elton John, The Wild Boys? A Euro Duran Duran, William, it was really nothing? A Euro The Smiths, Would Be's? A Euro Scritti Politti, wouldn't it be good? A Euro Nick Kershaw, You Don't Love Me? A Euro Marilyn, you might think? A Euro The Cars, You Spin Me Round Dead or Alive, you think you're a man? A Euro Divine, You're the Best Thing? A Euro The Style Council, Young at Heart? A Euro The Bluebells, Your Love is King? A Euro Sard equals Christmas songs equals Do They Know It's Christmas? A Euro Band-Aid, Last Christmas? A Euro Wham! Thank God It's Christmas? A Euro Queen, Another Rock 'n' Roll Christmas? A Euro Gary Glitter. Published popular music, After All These Years. W. Fred Ebb M. John Kander from the musical The Rink, The Cosby Show theme song. M. Stu Gardner and Bill Cosby, Cover Me. W.M. Bruce Springsteen, Every Time I Turn Around. W.M. Judy Hart Angelo and Gary Portnoy, theme from the TV series Punky Brewster, Friends. M. John LaFolla, theme from the TV series Kate and Ali, Ghostbusters. W.M. Ray Parker, Jr. Hallelujah. W.M. Leonard Cohen, I Just Called to Say I Love You. W.M. Stevie Wonder, Let's Go Crazy. W.M. Prince and the Revolution, Like a Virgin. W.M. Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, Lights Out. W.M. Peter Wolf and Don Covey, Missing You. W.M. John Waite, Charles Sanford and Mark Leonard, Murder, She Wrote theme song. M. John Addison, No More Lonely Nights. W.M. Paul McCartney, Rock You Like a Hurricane. W.M. Rudolf Schenker, Klaus Meine and Hermann Rebel, Time After Time. W.M. Cyndi Lauper and Rob Hyman, To All the Girls I've Loved Before. W. Hal David. M. Albert Hammond, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. W.M. George Michael, What's Love Got to Do With It? W.M. Terry Britten and Graham Lyle, When Doves Cry. W.M. Prince. Classical music, Samuel Adler. A Euro Sonata for Viola and Piano, Elliott Carter, Canon for 4, Homage to William, for flute, bass clarinet, violin, and cello, Esprit Rude Esprit Doux, for flute and clarinet, Riconoscenza per Goffredo Petrassi, for violin. Brian Cherney. A Euro Into the Distant Stillness, George Crumb, A Haunted Landscape for Orchestra, The Sleeper for soprano and piano. Mario Davidovsky. A Euro Divertimento for cello and orchestra, Ludovico Einaudi. A Euro Altissimo, Lorenzo Ferrero, My Blues, Hombres, for orchestra and live electronics. Franz Geisen, A plus B equals AB, for keyboard instrument, Catalog and GRIJS1, for marimba, Late Spiegels, for flute, oboe, piano and double bass, Omtrent ABC, for recorder quintet, Tonnen Trapp and Hujvuhan, for keyboard instrument, Tweorgels, for 2 organs. Karel Goeyvaerts, Aquarius Tango, for piano, Zum Wasserman, for chamber orchestra, De Zang van Aquarius, for 8 bass clarinets. Darren Hagen. A Euro. A Walt Whitman Requiem, John Harbison. A Euro String Quartet No. 1, Robin Holloway. A Euro Concerto for Viola, Mauricio Cadral. A Euro Derriade des Hippocrates, for piano 3 hands, Ian McDougall. A Euro Concerto for Clarinet, Elizabeth McConchie. A Euro String Quartet No. 13, Quartetto Corto, Ingram Marshall. A Euro Voces Risoni, Henri Pouzeur, Chronic K9, for 2 pianos, Quartet G. des Belles Stars. Copyright Na. Copyright Breezes or Jardin Bora. Copyright Al, for cor anglais, viola, horn, tuba, and 2 percussionists, LA. Copyright Toile des Langues, for narrators and 4 singers, Litany du Crystal des Fleurs, for piano left hand, Litany du Miel Matinal, for high melody instrument, Lesnikas die Kere Dimna. Copyright Mossin, for variable forces, Patchwork des Tribus Arma copyright retains, for wind orchestra, 6e mi vue sur les jardins interdits, for string trio, Sonate des mots registered trademarked as viennois, for piano, Tango de Jean La Sibyle, for piano left hand. Steve Reich The Desert Music, Ta Ruta Kemptsu River Run for piano and orchestra, Robert Ward Saxophone Concerto, Malcolm Williamson, A Pilgrim Liturgy for soloists, mixed choir and orchestra, Quarter G for a Warrior for orchestra, Himatichu for piano solo, Symphony No. 7. Ballet, see List of 1984 ballet premieres. Opera, Harrison Birtwistle The Mask of Orpheus, Philip Glass Orkneyton, Philip Glass The Civil Wars, Krzysztof Penderecki The Black Mask, Peter Skikella The Abduction of Figaro, attributed to P.D.Q. Bach. Karl-Heinz Stockhausen Samstagslicht. Musical theatre, Starlight Express Andrew Lloyd Webber and Richard Stilgoe, 42nd Street London production. The Rink Broadway production opened at the Martin Beck Theatre on February 9 and ran for 233 performances. Sunday in the Park with Georgia Broadway production opened at the Booth Theatre on May 2 and ran for 604 performances. Musical films, Amadeus, Asher Jyoti, Beat Street, Break-In, Break-In 2, Electric Boogaloo, Connexia Cube Den Carib, The Cotton Club, Footloose, Give My Regards to Broad Street, Hard to Hold, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Purple Rain, Streets of Fire, Sunny, Then Sings My Soul, This Is Spinal Tap. Musical television, The Girl from Moonulu starring Jackie Weaver and David Atkins. Births, January 9 Drew Brown, January 17 Calvin Harris, Scottish electronic musician, January 18 Christy Lee Cook, American Idol finalist, Benji Schwimmer, winner of So You Think You Can Dance 2006. January 20 Tony Gonzaga, Filipina actress and singer, January 24 Witold Kwiatek, Polish musician, January 26 Wu Qian, pianist, January 27 Davita Sherwood, American actress and singer, January 30 Kid Cudi, American rapper, February 9 Han Zheng, Chinese singer in Korea, February 11 Aubrey O'Day, American singer-songwriter, dancer, and actress, February 15 Dorota Rebkowska, Polish singer and model, February 25 Loverfolks, March 18 Vonzel Solomon, U.S. singer, March 20 Christy Carlson Romano, American actress and singer, March 25 Catherine McPhee, American Idol finalist, March 26 star copyright Fanny Lapointe, Canadian singer, April 6 Max Bemis, American musician, April 10 Mandy Moore, singer, April 22 Amel Berabar, British singer, April 24 Tyson Ritter, April 27 Patrick Stump, singer, May 1 Kiyashiro Koyama, Japanese singer and actor, May 2 Rose Falcon, singer-songwriter, May 3 Cheryl Burke, dancer, May 5 Wade McNeil, Canadian guitarist, May 11 Gerald Clayton. Dutch-American pianist and composer, May 14 Ollie Murs, English singer and presenter, May 25 Marion Raven, Norwegian singer-songwriter, Nikolai Pokatilo, Russian singer. June 4 Rainy Yang, Taiwanese singer, June 17 John Gallagher, Jr., American actor, singer and dancer, June 23 Duffy, Welsh singer-songwriter, June 29 Han Ji-hye, Korean actress-singer, Derek Lee Rock, American drummer. June 30 Fantasia Barrino, American singer, July 4 Gina Glockson, American Idol finalist, Stick Scissor, American musician. July 5 Elizabeth Schwartz, operatic soprano, July 7 Marie Mai, Canadian singer, July 9 Jacob Hoggard, Canadian singer lead singer of Headley, July 12 Gareth Gates, English singer, July 15 Vice Cooler, American singer-songwriter, July 17 Asami Kimura, Japanese singer, July 21 Blake Lewis, American Idol runner-up, July 24, Dani Lennevold, Tyler Kite, Canadian actor-singer. July 25 Dong Haik Lim, pianist. July 26 Alex Parks, singer-songwriter. August 3 Cara Faye Chano, American singer for the band Shiny Toy Guns. August 5 Taylor Locke. August 21, Eliza Copyright singer. Melissa Schumann, singer. August 24 Yi Sung, Korean singer. August 31 Will Martin, crossover singer. September Woo Dee, pianist. September 1 Joe Truman, American musician. September 16, Sabrina Bryan, American actress and singer. Katie Melua, Georgian singer and musician. September 22 Teresa Fu, Hong Kong singer and actress. September 23 Louis Stevens. September 26 Keisha Buchanan, singer. September 27 Avril Lavigne, Canadian rock singer and musician. September 28 Melody Thornton, American singer. October 3 Ashley Simpson, singer. October 4 Lena Katina, Russian singer. October 10 Stephanie Cheng, singer. October 12 Matthew Dewey, Australian composer. October 16 Shane Ward, singer and winner of reality TV show The X Factor. October 25 Sarah Lumholt, Katy Perry, singer. October 27 Kelly Osbourne, singer. November 9 Delta Goodrem, Australian singer and actress. Say 7N, South Korean singer. November 12 Sandara Park, member of South Korean girl group 2NE1 and former actress. November 14 Luz Philippe Kilho, violinist. November 18 Johnny Christ. November 21 Willie Mason, singer-songwriter. November 24 Wolf Hudson, actor, director and street dancer. November 28 Trey Songz, American singer. December 15 Joshua 3rd, guitarist. December 17 Ashoka Fukuda, Japanese singer. December 20 David Tyver copyright, Spanish singer. December 22 Jonas Eric Goldberg, Swedish singer. December 25 The Veronicas, Australian singers. Deaths, January 1 Alexis Korner, blues musician. January 18 55 Vasilis Tsanis, Greek composer. January 21 69 Jackie Wilson, singer. January 23 49 Samuel Gardner, violinist and composer. January 30 92 Luke Kelly, member of the Dubliners. February 1 43 Ada Bricktop Smith, singer and dancer. February 15 89 Avon Long, American actor and singer. 73 Ethel Merman, singer and actress. 76 March 9 Imogen Holst, conductor and composer. April 1 76 Marvin Gaye, singer-songwriter. April 6 44 Jimmy Kennedy, Irish-born British songwriter. 81 Harry Kitesty, composer. 77 April 20 Mabel Mercer, cabaret singer. April 23 84 Juan Tizzle, trombonist and composer. April 26 84 Count Basie, jazz musician. April 27 79 ZZ Hill, blues singer. May 1 48 Gordon Jenkins, U.S. conductor, songwriter and pianist. May 29 73 Sanford Gold, jazz pianist. 72 June Mohammed Mujla Iban, singer and instrumentalist. June 8 Gordon Jacob, composer. June 15 88 Meredith Wilson, U.S. songwriter. June 28 82 Misha Spoliansky, Russian-born composer and conductor. July 4 Jimmy Spheres, American singer-songwriter. July 14 34 Bill Stapleton, jazz trumpeter. 49 Philippa copyright win, R&B singer. 43 July 19 Madeline Sibyl, operatic soprano. July 25 89 Big Mama Thornton, R&B singer. July 29 57 Lawrence Verhenberger, operatic tenor. July 31 71 Paul Laflamme, composer. August 4 103 Babe Russin, saxophonist, August 5, 73 Toots Washington, R&B pianist, August 12, 67 Margaret Sutherland, composer, August 30, 86 Emil Newman, conductor and composer, August 31, 73 Carlo Zecchi, pianist, music teacher and conductor. September 3, 81, Dora Labette, operatic soprano, 86, Arthur Schwartz, composer and film producer, 83. September 6, Ernest Tubb, country and western musician, September 10, 70, Herman Sherman, jazz saxophonist and band leader, 61, Trommy Young, swing trombonist, 72. September 15, Charles Lynch, Irish concert pianist, September 20, 77 Steve Goodman, singer-songwriter best known for City of New Orleans, October 3, 36, Lena Bruna Razor, operatic soprano, 67, Harrison Potter, pianist, 93. October 4, Carl von Garaguli, violinist and conductor, October 12, Geza S. Mariuson Roma, pianist, October 16, 81 JRM registered trademark Gilanek, jazz trumpeter, singer and artist, October 20, 62 Bud Johnson, jazz musician, October 26, 73 John Woods Duke, composer, November 8, 85 Carl Gustav Spar Olsen, violinist and composer, November 16, 81 Leonard Rose, cellist, November 20, 66 Alexander Moises, Slovak composer, December 7, 78 John B. Higgins, American Carnatic musician, December 9, 45 Razzle, drummer of Hanoi Rocks, December 24, 10 Charlie Tiergarten, jazz trumpeter, December 13, 71 Max Paragraph Nherr, conductor and composer, December 15, 81 Jan Park, operatic tenor, December 21, 80 Jose copyright Luis Rodriguez var copyright Les, Panamanian composer, orchestra director, saxophonist, clarinetist and guitarist, 69. Awards Grammy Awards Grammy Awards of 1984 Country Music Association Awards Eurovision Song Contest Eurovision Song Contest 1984 Charts List of number 1 hits List of Hot 100 number 1 singles of 1984 Cashbox Top 100 number 1 singles of 1984 List of number 1 singles from the 1980s List of number 1 albums List of number 1 albums of 1984 See also 1984 in heavy metal music 1984 in country music 1984 in British music Record labels established in 1984 Timeline of musical events 1984 References